Today we're going to work on Unit 3, Day 3 notes. These are notes about function notation. And so when you look at your notes, I'm going to just say a function takes an input value or an x value, and it produces some output value or y value. If we are specifically talking about a function and not just a relation, we know that any x value that we plug in will give us one and only one y value as output. Okay, so far you've seen us write equations like this, y equals 2x plus 8. If we want to use function notation, we're going to specify this equation, and we're going to say the equation is a function. Right here I'm saying it's the function f, and in this case when I put f of x, that's how we say that, f of x is going to take the place of y. So really, we are saying f of x equals y. We are exchanging. Instead of using the letter y, we're going to say the function where the input is x. All right, so f of x means you are working with a function. You know it's going to be a function. F is the name of the function, and x is your input value. Your output value is either considered f of x, that's the output, or y, right? Typically, so far, we've said y is our output. All right, and so when we were thinking about our input and output so far, we might have said that we have the ordered pair x, y. But in this case, if we are calling our whole function f, this is the function of x, and it equals 2x plus 8. My output, if this is my input, x, my output is the f of x, right? So this ordered pair shows that my input is x and my output is the f of x. It is whatever happened once I plugged x in. All right. Another reminder, the input or x value is inside the parentheses here. The f of x. X is my input. Okay, and the output is going to be outside the parentheses. So the output is whatever 2x plus 8 equals. All right. So looking here at our function notation, in this example, f of x equals negative 3x minus 6. The expression negative 3x minus 6 provides instructions on what to do with any input, right? You're going to plug in your input and you're going to use order of operations, so you'll multiply by negative 3 and then you'll subtract 6. So if I know that my input is 2, look at this. Instead of saying f of x, I'm going to say the f of 2, right? 2 is my x. The f of 2 equals, I'm just going to plug everything I know in to the other part of this equation. Negative 3 times, well, I know my input, I know my x value is 2, so I'm just going to plug in 2 there, minus 6. And you can see that we did that negative 3 times 2 minus 6. And order of operations, we have negative 6 minus 6, which equals negative 12. My input, my x equals 2. And my f of x equals negative 12. So you can see in my ordered pair, my input equals 2, right? That's the x value. And my output equals negative 12. The f of x equals negative 12. Okay, so when solving problems involving function notation, you just want to ask yourself, do I know the input or the output? You'll be given one of those pieces of information. And then you have to figure out where you're going to plug that information in. So the most straightforward thing here is if we want to find the output given some specific input. That's what we just did. We were told that our input was 2, so we plugged it in. And please use parentheses. Especially if you're working with a negative number, you just want to be sure you don't lose any negatives. All right, if I need to find the input given the output, so they may tell me what f of x equals, and I have to figure out what is the x that I could plug in, then we're going to determine the input that produces that given output. So we know the result after we plug in some x, and we're going to replace f of x with that result. We're going to replace f of x with the output and then solve back through our equation until we find out what the input should have been, what was x. All right, and I know example 1 is worked out on your paper, but I'm going to go ahead and work it out step by step as well. So if I let f of x equal negative 3x minus 6, I have f of x equals negative 3x minus 6. They are asking me to find the f of negative 5. So notice what that looks like right here. I have f of negative 5. I know that's f of x, right? So I know because of that, that x must equal negative 5. That's what we're plugging in, right? Plugging in negative 5 for any x that we see. So I'm going to go back to my original equation. F of x equals negative 3. Instead of saying x, I know what x is, so I'm going to put in negative 5. Okay, so I have substituted in, instead of just the letter x, I'm going to say x equals negative 5. All right, so this equals negative 3 times negative 5, which is positive 15 minus 6, and 15 minus 6 equals 9. So I know that if I plug in negative 5, I will get 9 out of that whole problem. So my x value is negative 5, and my f of x, when I plug in negative 5, my f of x is 9. Okay, an ordered pair for this would be negative 5, comma 9. Negative 5, 9 tells me that I'm putting in negative 5 and I'm getting out 9. All right, so if you follow along, you'll see what I just did is exactly what we have on our page. All right, so this time over here, I'm going to slide my paper over. They are giving me the output. They want me to find x. What would x be if I plugged it in? And the output is 15. Okay, so I know the f of x equals 15. So this time when I substitute, I'm substituting this whole information. F of x equals 15. Okay, and so on my paper, if I were to do this one step at a time, I know that the f of x equals negative 3x minus 6. I'm finding that from the top of my page, my original equation. Okay, same f of x. And they told me that the f of x equals 15. So instead of f of x, I'm going to plug in the number 15. So now I have 15 equals negative 3x minus 6. Now I have to use my brilliant algebra skills and get x all by itself. So I'll add 6 to each side. I have 21 equals negative 3x. And now I'm going to divide each side by negative 3. So I know negative 7 equals x. So they said find x when the f of x equals 15. I found x. X must equal negative 7. That's the only way to make that work. Okay, so find x when x equals negative 7. I'm sorry, excuse me, find x when f of x equals 15. I found out that x equals negative 7. So I could write this solution as an ordered pair as negative 7, 15. That's the ordered pair that would plug in right here. All right, let's look at example 2. This says let f of x equal negative 3x minus 6 again, but this time we want the f of 7. So I know x equals 7. So I'm going to plug in 7 for x. Okay, I'm just substituting in. I know x equals 7, so I plugged in 7 where there was an x. Negative 3 times 7 is negative 21, and just bring down minus 6. Negative 21 minus 6 is negative 27. Okay, the f of 7 equals negative 27. F of x when x equals 7 equals negative 27. So that is my answer. Okay. Find the f of x, find x when the f of x equals 5. This time I have to work backwards. So instead of knowing what my x is, I know what f of x is. Okay, the original equation right here says the f of x equals negative 3x minus 6. Well, I know the f of x is 5, so I'm plugging that in. 5 equals negative 3x minus 6. I'll add 6 to each side, and then I will divide each side by negative 3. So I get x equals negative 11 thirds. Please get that negative out of that denominator. All right, try some of these other questions and pop back over to check your answers.